Hi, my name is Godbright Nixon, and I'm your host for today's episode of Behind the Pitch Deck. And today we have this amazing human being called Roy. Roy Esibe. He's an entrepreneur and an innovator in the space of AI. But I'll let him do the thorough introduction of himself. Welcome, Roy. If you can do your own introduction.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. It's an honor being here. I've been watching this podcast for the past 3 weeks, so I always felt like hoping to contribute in one way.
Exactly.
I could probably. I actually thought of joining the camera team. The people that things on the background. But I got this seat, to answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about me. For the past 2 years, I've been into research in artificial intelligence, and applying artificial intelligence in entrepreneurial ecosystems in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the motivation of this research came from the question: how do founders get successful?
Okay.
How do we have successful founders in Africa? When we had that question in mind, we had to start brainstorming and researching around finding answers to it. So one of the first things we did was trying to identify successful companies.
Okay.
Now, trying to identify successful companies is not easy, but for research purposes, you have to find one particular thing, and the one particular thing we found was unicorns, the technology unicorns. These are companies, startups, which are valued beyond $1 billion. Yeah,
Okay.
so they have a valuation greater $1 billion or higher. So we considered those as successful companies, and we had to understand the journeys of the founders of these companies to know what makes these successful companies.
Yeah.
But not only that, we had to extend it to that this material, this research can also be like some sort of information we can give to new founders.
Yeah.
So they understand the ecosystem, they understand the way things work, and not repeat other people's failures.
Exactly. Yeah.
And know how to approach entrepreneurship, with one foot ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's super interesting, to be honest. Super interesting. And before we dive deep into the research work that you did, I do know that you also transitioned into founding your own company. And I would really like for you to touch base on what your company does, and then later I think we're going to circle back to research.
Yeah, definitely. The company I began a year ago. I started this company with two other co-founders.
Okay.
Wonderful human beings. It's been an honor working with them to this point, and I feel like the future is very bright with them.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the company is Curricula.
Curricula.
Yeah, it was registered last year in Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where our headquarters is based. And we have had about 3 to 4 pivots in the past. Yeah, you have to work fast. You have to do things to failure, and get to the next thing that works.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's quite common because your original idea is never what you are going to build a company with. You're going to be doing pitchings. You're going to be discussing with other people and also developing MVPs.
Exactly.
And as you develop these MVPs, you're going to release them out to potential clients or users, and you see how they behave with it, and you know when to pivot or whether you have to pivot. It's very essential. And right now, the solution which we have, the solution which we are offering, stems from the problem of which parents invest a lot in their kids to go to school.
Yeah.
So right from nursery school to graduating the universities.
The whole journey.
The whole journey.
It's a lot of investment.
It's a lot of investment, and I think typically in Africa, in a household, about 70% of the earnings of the parents goes into the child's education.
Yeah.
So all of this happens, but the disappointment, the bad news is that after they get done with their degree, they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
They don't have opportunities, and the problem comes from that the path that they choose is not a path that is being demanded in the market.
Yeah.
So they don't get the opportunity to relate or to connect what they are studying to what is in the market. Right. So a solution comes in to provide information to these parents and also to educational institutions to understand what is in demand in the market, such that their curriculums or the curriculums or whatever paths that they take is in accordance to those.
Yeah.
So there's also a little bit of predicting there, because of course you go to school for about 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So the first year of going to school, the demands in the market are not the same as when you graduate.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where the predicting comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some sort of forecasting over a period of time, so that they know how things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's about the solution.
Okay, that's really exciting, and so I'm trying to bring it back to the context of most of our viewers, the viewers that we have behind the pitch deck, and I would assume either they are aspiring to have their own businesses, or they actually have started their own businesses, right? And you have also started your own business, right? And so my question would be, what are the things that you learned through the research? It is my understanding that as you've already shared, the research was
just like a bedrock to starting the company.
Exactly, that's one. And then two, it was something that investigated companies in Africa that are actually successful. So what are the lessons that you learned from the research, and or rather what are the bullet points that are actually driving you now in curricula, or in building curricula towards the same, let's say, category of companies that you were researching on, which you shared unicorns?
Yeah, that's interesting. A good number of them is very helpful at this point.
Okay.
So while going through a number of unicorns in Africa, by the way, there are about 10 or 11 unicorns. Now you're going to have different unicorns with respect to the sources online.
Yeah.
And we gathered information of these founders from YouTube, podcasts. We had like public information, so you get the opportunity to watch a lot of the interviews.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, and you get to see their mindset of how they began their companies and how it came to where it is now. Of course, there's a bias whereby when in front of the camera, you might not tell the truth. You might not tell the truth, but most of them were quite honest with the experiences that they had.
Yeah.
Yeah. One great opportunity which we had was interviewing some of these founders.
That's nice.
Yeah,
okay.
we interviewed Ian Olua. That's the founder of Flutterweave.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Andela. I'm not sure if he's with Andela again, but also Conrad Jonker.
Okay.
That is the founder of Time Bank in South Africa. Time Bank is TYME. So actually, it's an acronym for Take Your Money Everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and
that's a good to know.
Yes, and one other founder from Egypt. When discussing with them, it was a whole transformative experience. Because when you get on the call with them, you are first surprised about their humility.
Yeah.
You are surprised about their humility. Most of these calls were scheduled to be about 30 minutes or 1 hour.
Yeah.
But we found ourselves even going beyond because they were so ready to provide information. research. So first thing I realized was how humble, humble they were, and while discussing about their stories, they communicated that most of what they built from ground up. For example, like Flutterwave, most of they deal with payment system, payment gateways, and most of the build up of it was from they did a lot of groundwork. So moving from bank to government related companies to go around policies. So they never built on already existing systems. They had to build from ground up. So this kind of opened my mind to the nature of things in Africa. And I understood that if I'm going through this path, it might be a similar thing. So there might be aspects of our ecosystems that may not favor the quick growth of these startups. But then it was it informed me that I should be ready for these things. That you have to knock at doors. You have to build systems from ground up because there might not be particular existing systems. Another thing which I also understood from this research and the interview which we had, most of the problems that were solved to come up with these unicorns were actual problems.
That's very interesting to notice. Actually.
So unlike the West, where most of the solutions that come about are built from a place of making things more efficient. Efficient.
Sometimes even more comfortable.
Exactly, more comfortable. Here is from a point of high need. We find out that there is a high demand for this type of problem, and you see it every day occurring. And I also began to think in that manner. I started thinking, trying to identify those things which are of high need right now. And that's where we build up from. I think those are some wonderful aspects. But also there was this fact while looking at the story of Flutterwave, and they had to do about 500 pitches. 500 pitches to get their Series A funding. And it was like eye-opening because you get to understand the amount of effort you have to put to sell your idea to people, to get funding, to build up a company. So I say all of these acted as guardrails to starting a company. So we don't begin a company with so much expectations, saying that maybe after 2 to 3 pitches we are going to get what we want. Of course, we can become lucky, but it got our mind prepared for the worst. So those are a few things which opened my mind to this.
That's actually very insightful, and I would say you are lucky because you started studying what can actually work, or rather what are the things that the people who have working solution did to reach where they are. And you mentioned they had to juggle between government policies, as everyone is doing, and they had to actually target actual problems. So not thinking, I wanted to say not thinking outside the box but inside the box, but that would be a very bad narrative to keep out there. But actually starting from where you are, addressing the problems that you see, which people that are surrounding you are actually facing. So my next question will be, because there are actually people who are doing that, but they don't have successful companies, as I would say, and they would say it's about policies. Maybe the policies in my country are not allowing for growth and all those things. So what, if I may call, what patterns or what things have you seen this? Because you mentioned that you've met the founders, right? So what things have you noticed that these founders did with their companies that, in spite of all these issues that we are facing in Africa, I know apart from government policies, we would also talk about things around internet penetration. Exactly. If it's something that, if it's a mobile app, there's everything around smartphones penetration. It means maybe your market will be skewed and all those things. So what patterns have you noticed around founders? Like, what were they doing to actually address these issues and become successful and save a lot of people? Yeah.
Well, definitely, and when asking, I also began to think of what the others didn't do to not become successful.
Yeah, that can also be a very good point.
Yeah, and we have not had the opportunity to study those who did not make it. We focus more on these unicorns, the successful ones.
Yeah,
and it's a number of things. Now, for the few which are at the top of my mind that I do remember, is I think first was grit. Grit. Yes. Most of the founders that I spoke to had grit. That more perseverance, right? Perseverance. The stamina to keep going. Right? Because it's a whole roller coaster. Most of what you start with is not what you end.
You said you also actually shared that you have avoided I don't know how many times.
Exactly. So you go through a number of hurdles, right? Of course, like infrastructural hurdles, like you mentioned. If you're building a solution which is like a mobile application, you find out that in a specific city or in a specific country, you have very low adoption of smartphones.
Yeah.
Right? So they had a lot of hurdles, definitely. But one thing was grit that I realized. Right? Grit. Most of them were very patient. They were perseverant. That's one thing I discovered. And you realize also from the length of time of discovery of the company to when it turned into a unicorn.
Yeah.
Most companies that turned into a unicorn did that from about 5 years, 5 years of existence. Yeah.
And how is that different from if you had researched the ones maybe outside of Africa?
Oh, we never did that comparison.
Okay.
But it was something interesting to check. It's interesting to check, and also to see for those which failed, maybe how long did they last before they failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting back onto a number of patterns that we are recognized. Like I said, first was grit. Second was also they kept saying that you need to have the right person with you. Yeah.
Okay.
You need to work with the right person. I know there's this saying that it's like your employees or people are everything. I believe that is like the right people are everything.
Yeah, not only people, right?
The right people. So working with those who have the credibility to get what you want, you could find a company. And you need to get more investors. You have to get someone who is more of in that space of who has been in that space. Rather than getting maybe a friend who was with you at college to do that for you. It's working. So a lot that was communicated on was getting the right person for the job. Of course, that is also going to be with respect to how much you can finance, how much you can pay them. But at that point, you have to focus on the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to somewhere, I'd say, more successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which other point might I have left out? Like I said, when discussing with them, the first feeling you have in the core is, beyond their success, beyond their CEO position.
Yeah.
They were very meek and humble people. but they have that strong drive. They have a very, very strong drive, right? And when you discuss with them, you get to see that they don't talk much about themselves.
Yeah.
They talk much more about the people they work with. In a way, they try to escape praises when it comes to themselves.
Yeah.
And mostly give praises
to the people they are working with. Yeah.
And in a very natural way, not in a fake way. You get to discover those few things. Those are the patterns.
Okay.
And I think those are about what I can think of now.
Yeah.
If you come up, I'm going to discuss them.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually very interesting. You've talked about greed. You've talked about working with the right persons, and then being a recipe to actually reaching the levels that these guys have reached. So the next question that I have, I would imagine some of our viewers are, let's say, they are beyond that level of servicing the market, the immediate market that they are servicing as of the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe if we would give an example of where we are, maybe you have a service like, let's say, Vuba Vuba in Rwanda, which is now servicing Kigali. I'm not sure about other provinces, but Kigali. Or you have a service that is addressing maybe, let's say, the whole of Rwanda. But now you want to scale outside the country, and I would believe a unicorn, for it to reach a level of a unicorn, they need to have a very big market. Unless the market is Nigeria, where you have a lot of people. If you are in another country, let's say Rwanda or Burundi, which are relatively smaller countries, and you would need to one or another expand to other countries. What do you think are now the recipes to now, if you talk to the founders who are in that category, are now the recipe to now expand beyond the boundaries of your immediate market? Doesn't matter if your immediate market is your neighbors in the house, or a province or a country. You want to step out of the immediate market that you actually are having now. So what do you think from the research that you did at the recipes to that?
It's interesting to know that, like, you gave the example of Nigeria, which is very populated, and as populated as they are, most of I think about 60%, at least 60% of the unicorns come from Nigeria.
60%, and how many did you say there?
I think 10 at this point.
Okay,
10.
so that's
with respect to the source.
Okay.
Yeah, they are fintech companies from Nigeria.
Okay.
So it's a number of things that we realize. First, when you look at Time Bank started in South Africa, but I'm not sure if it got its unicorn state when it was still in South Africa, or when it expanded its markets to India. There, what I realized is most of these companies leverage their full market in the country before they left.
So they exhausted very well
before they left. Yes. Flutterwave and also Time Bank, they had a huge number of users before they expanded to any other space. With other people's startups now, I know that the viewers might be, they might have their startup, they might have their companies. They'll have to do some sort of internal planning. Actually, what happens is, at the point of building the product, you're going to meet a number of investors, and they're going to see how much your startup scales. Like, is this startup scalable? They want to see that many users, not just from your country, get to use it. Right? It goes out of the country. So there are startups whereby they are going to serve their country perfectly, and they should stick to it. And what will happen is that if they have to expand, they might have to change their business model, right? Because different countries, and especially when you deal with the entrepreneurial ecosystems in Africa, there are other things that favor or disfavor the success of your product. Right? I'll give an example like Jumia in Cameroon. Jumia in Cameroon failed woefully. But I hear that in Nigeria or in other countries, they might be doing much better. So that would mean that they had to reevaluate whatever they were offering in Cameroon and know how to serve the Cameroonian market.
Yeah.
So before expanding, you have to understand the other markets.
Yeah.
And especially here in Africa. Now this might be unlike in the West, and I'd say maybe in the US.
Yeah.
That is, it's like a large population, but the behavior is quite the
same. And under the same system, if you might call it that.
Exactly. Right. But here there are so many boundaries apart from the geographical boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rwanda has an ecosystem that favors the growth of technology.
Yeah.
South Africa too, right? But other countries don't have all of that, so you have to understand the market. Before expanding.
Yeah, I've seen the pattern that you're talking about in one of a company that I really admire, Nala. So that's Tanzania. So it's the founder is Tanzanian, but they do have offices in Kenya and in the UK. And I've seen the hassle that they have gone through to get the, how do we call it? I think some sort of a permit to operate, send money to the national bank, something like that. So, yeah, because everywhere in Africa you meet new policies, you meet new governments and new, as you said, policies. So you need to navigate. So you have mentioned two very important things, the ones that I remember. As a recipe to scaling out, and the first one was checking if your solution is scalable, and then the second one is if it's not scalable, check how you can actually adapt to the market and be able to scale to the market. I think those are two very important things.
Yes. The key thing is the market that you're starting with. You should
exhaust it. Yes. Okay, that was the third thing that I was
you should have that market.
Yeah.
It's going to I'd say it's going to push you to other markets.
Yeah.
It's like you have success in this market, and now you can even get more funding and more support to start researching for other markets.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's actually very nice. Very, very nice. So I think this would be my last question, and I would now cycle back again to the access that the research that you did give you, which was some sort of a one-on-one interview with the founders. And I think this would be very interesting even for our viewers to get to enter a mind of one of the founders that you actually interviewed.
Yeah.
And so my question will be, through all the interviews that you did, what one founder story resonated with you? And I want you to be as raw as possible, if that's that is acceptable, because I would say there will be people who will connect with that story, and in one way or another, the story will push them forward in whatever they are doing now. So, what founder story resonated with you in the interviews that you did?
I'd say no particular one story resonated with me. All of them resonated.
Yeah.
I'd say the top two was that of Conrad Jonker of South Africa and Ian Olua. Those were the interviews that stuck with me.
Okay.
And I watched those interviews about 4 more times after, because there was a lot of knowledge and experience shared there.
Okay.
Yeah. So something that struck me, especially from Cohen, Conrad from South Africa, he gave this advice that, of course, I am not going to talk about say the words exactly, but the advice was you should go for the biggest thing, right?
You should go for
the biggest thing, because there's not much difference doing the smaller thing. So it's like you're going to use the same resources that you're going to use for both. So you're going to use the same resources for the bigger thing. You're going to use the same resources and the same energy for the smaller thing. So just go for that bigger thing. Yeah, that think big, think. I don't know how to concretize that sort of thinking, but it's like you think beyond
your means.
Yes, your means. You think beyond your means. Beyond what is also existing.
Okay.
Right? Because it's easy to be clouded with the solutions which are around you, and it's tough to look forward. And it's also something which Ian Oluwa kind of grounded, because he says that we should picture the founders of Africa as the old founders in the US, in the West, such as I say Rockefeller.
Oh, the oil guy.
Yeah. It's like, how did they build those billion-dollar companies?
The benchmark.
Yeah. At that period of time, when technology was not that ubiquitous, right? So at this point where technology is like everywhere, there's this development. What is more? So it's that type of thinking. It's like, go for the biggest thing, because the amount of resources that you use is going to be the same as just going for the normal thing or the small thing. So that was one thing that really stuck with me. And also what Ian said about how we should picture ourselves as founders. Because, and it was under the context whereby we looked at the state of where we are. Because when you look at infrastructure in most of our ecosystems here, it's not that encouraging. Infrastructure is quite questionable, right from looking at AI, the lack of GPUs.
All these data centers.
Definitely, you also get to look at availability of electricity, mobile internet coverage, mobile internet usage. That sort of infrastructure is not in place. So that's why he likened the whole situation to these, these other, like Rockefeller founders. During that period of time in the US, and that's how we should picture it. So if you're building something, it's like you start from ground up, right? The brick and mortar kind of building. So those are some particular things that struck with me. Now, all of these founders, they have their own, let's say, more of personality, the way they say things. Of course, Ian is a little bit more, I'd say, spiritual, and it is what has taken him from where he was to where he is now. And he's an amazing person. Conrad too is such a wonderful human being too. So those are like the top things that really struck me. And also the way new founders should think as they start their journeys.
Very nice. Okay. Everything has been nice today. So to just summarize, one of the things is go for the biggest thing. Don't analyze your means and like, let me just do this. So go for the biggest thing. And then second, you should not be afraid to start from the ground up. You gave an example of Rockefeller. Very nice to have you in
it's a wonderful discussion.
In our episode today. And we have actually started something where you leave a question for the next speaker.
The next speaker.
So it can be of any aspect, and the next speaker will have to succumb to answer the question.
A question. I did not think of one, but let's say something I'm going to be curious about is it would be nice for the next speaker to tell us how to do what they call an elevator pitch.
An elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very nice
elevator
one.
pitch. I guess it's going to be quite beneficial to your audience. What is that? What is that thing you can say in almost 60 to 90 seconds that you could captivate someone?
Okay.
Of course, because we got to understand that this elevator pitch is not to just sell the idea, but more like it's like you capture that person to have a coffee date with you, to have that discussion where you can discuss more. So what can you tell them in 60 or 90 seconds to make them want to talk to you?
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Thank you very much, Roy. It was nice having you in our episode.
Yeah,
Have a nice one. Thank you.